So somebody asked me to come over here and speak to you guys, but I don't know what it was about. Does anybody know what I'm supposed to talk about?
The future.
The future. Yes, that's right. Yeah, actually, I do know what this was. This half hour was on nutrition. I know there's a couple new faces in the room. I am a chiropractor. I'm the CEO of AMI, and I do a lot of work in the nutrition industry. You guys have probably noticed there's a sister company called Biogenetics around here. Yep. So I formulated all of those products, and I work with that company to expand that product line out into the healthcare profession. Biogenetics is our products are sold only to healthcare providers, right? So a bunch of reasons for that, but that's who that market is for. I also shoot videos that I post online, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and some other places that just have general health information. So that would be the other place you could find some of this data. But I was going to cover for you guys some more on nutrition. The last time I did this, we covered sugar and insulin and how those things play a role together to basically the root cause of just about all the chronic diseases that people die from these days, at least in the United States. Do you guys know what those top diseases are? Yep, heart disease number one. Diabetes people usually die from diabetes like related complications. So diabetes doesn't end up being on the top of the list, but that's one of the most common problems. 1 in 4 people are going to end up being diabetic. And that's way underestimated. I'll tell you, that's way underestimated. There's no way that is even close. It's probably closer to 1 in 2. Yep. So so heart disease is number 1.
Cancer?
Yep, cancer is number 2. That's right. So then, of course, you've got diseases actually caused by the medical system. That is actually number 3, although they never posted there because it's not a disease. But as the 3rd leading cause of death. That's right. So that would include botched surgeries, reactions to drugs, properly prescribed, but also improperly prescribed medications or whatever, all of those together. But if we look at those top 2 diseases, heart disease and cancer, and then we look at diabetes, because although it's not a leading cause of death, because people usually die of something else, it is a massive problem, right? All 3 of those things basically come down to sugar. Yeah. Yep. And, I'll give you a little bit of insight in that, before we go on to the main topic for today, because this is it's so important, right? So your main sources of sugar, right, are going to be actual sugar added to products. Right, the average American eats 150 pounds of sugar a year. Whoa! That is a lot of sugar, right? And then your grains, right? So grains are like wheat, rye, barley, rice, corn, right? There's a whole list of grains, and those break down very quickly into sugar, and they affect blood sugar levels. So here's what happens. When you eat sugar or grains, you get a spike in your blood sugar. And you cannot have your blood sugar go up that high for a very long time. That would kill you. So what happens is your body releases insulin. Okay, so the blood sugar spike comes first, and your body goes, whoa, high blood sugar. And then it pumps insulin right into your body. And what insulin does is it goes around to each cell in your body, and it hooks up with each cell. And it's telling that cell to open up if that cell needs sugar for energy. There are 2 sources of energy, or 2 fuel sources for your cells. One of them is sugar. That is like the dirty fuel. So you can run on sugar, and most of us in this room are running on sugar. You can also run on ketones, which is a clean fuel, right? That is basically running off of fat, either from your diet or from your body. So the ideal scene is to run on ketones most of the time, and probably sometimes you drop down out of ketosis and run on sugar. So when insulin is released, it hooks up with your cells. Your cells go, okay, we need some energy, we need some sugar. They open up, and the sugar goes out of the blood and into the cells. Okay. Now, once your cells have enough of the sugar, if that's what you're burning for fuel, right, then all the additional sugar that doesn't go into your cells. Do you guys know what that gets converted into?
Fat.
Yes, fat is the second thing. The first thing is glycogen. It's a temporary fuel storage. It's basically you take all these glucose molecules and you connect them together and it sits in your muscles, right? And then everything else goes into fat. And that's just how it works. So, if you're trying to lose weight, which a lot of us are, right? Then what happens is if you have insulin constantly in your blood system, insulin not only is putting fat on the body, but it's also blocking the hormones which break fat down, right? So why is it relevant to these diseases? Well, here's number one. With cancer, did you know that cancer actually lives on sugar? Yeah. Yes, that is the fuel for cancer cells. So you can starve cancer cells by actually getting rid of the sugar in your diet. And every single one of us actually has cancer cells in our body every day. That's a normal thing. You think of how many cells are in the human body? I don't know the number. It's trillions, probably. I don't know. It's a large number. So you take all of those cells, and many of them, most of them are dividing. Your neurons, they don't divide every day. But most of your cells are dividing. In fact, there are stats that say your entire body, outside of your nervous system, is replaced like once every 90 days. That's how many cells are replicating. So you can imagine some of those are going to replicate improperly, and a lot of those would be cancer cells, right? But what happens is your immune system gets rid of them very quickly. And that's why you don't have cancer, even though we've all got cancer cells in our body today, right? They get swept up by your immune system, properly functioning body gets rid of that stuff. So when our immune system isn't able to do that, that's when cancer becomes what we think of as cancer, like where it's actually a problem, right? So all those cancer cells, whether they're the ones that your body is getting rid of every day, or it's an actual tumor which is becoming problematic, those things live on sugar. And so if you eat a low sugar diet, you will starve any potential cancer cells, right? So if we were to be able to actually remove the refined sugar and most of the grains from the diet of people, you would see cancer rates drop dramatically. Now, how about heart disease? How many of you have heard, whether you believe it's true or not, that heart disease, the cholesterol in your diet contributes to it? Yes, we've all heard it. It was a massive PR campaign by the federal government, right? And other organizations in healthcare that you can't eat. They demonized eggs for a while. They demonized red meat. They demonized all these things. How many of you know that in 2016, the federal government actually removed the cholesterol restriction from their dietary guidelines? They didn't promote that, but they did. They removed it. You no longer, per the government, not that you really want to listen to these guys, but this one they got right. Per the government, there is no longer a cholesterol restriction on your diet. And because they realized what people who were looking at this stuff and studying it for real knew all along, and that is that 90% of your body's cholesterol does not come from your diet. Your body makes cholesterol in your liver. You need cholesterol. It is unbelievably important. Unbelievably important. You will die without cholesterol. You die without a lot of cholesterol. Before you die, what will happen is your nerves won't function properly, your brain won't function properly, you won't be able to repair. Yeah, you need cholesterol, okay? And even the government now recognizes the fact that cholesterol in your diet is not an issue. It's no longer a restriction. They're way behind the times, but they finally caught up. Now, here's why that's relevant to heart disease. Cholesterol is not the problem. Guess what the problem is? It is sugar again. It is sugar. Yes, it is sugar. So here's what's happening. The modern theory on what is happening and why you find cholesterol plaques in arteries is because a diet that's high in sugar will make your arteries stiff. And remember, arteries are supposed to be pliable, right? Because your heart's pumping, and can you imagine a pliable tube, like those new hoses that don't get all tangled up? You know, the ones that are like they're easier to use, right? Like if a surge of water went down that thing, you'd literally see, you'd see it expand, right? So as your heart pumps, it's pumping blood through these tubes. If those tubes are stiff, can you imagine that they might crack? Right, theoretically? Well, that's actually what happens. So your arteries get stiff, and you actually end up with fissures or cracks on the inside. Okay, well, that's not good. So your body puts a Band-Aid on it. Guess what the Band-Aid is called?
Cholesterol.
Right, it's called cholesterol. So what happened is when doctors started to take people who had died of heart disease, and they opened them up to see what the heck had gone wrong, they went, oh my God, clogged artery. And they took a swab of it, tested it, and they found out it was cholesterol. And they went, aha, we need to keep this out of the body. Can you see the logic?
Yeah.
Totally see the logic, right? Absolutely. And so the idea was, well, where does cholesterol come from? Oh my God, it's in eggs, it's in red meat, it's all these things. They kind of ignored the fact that your body makes 90% of it, but whatever. So they said, okay, low cholesterol diet, control cholesterol with statin drugs. You guys know what a statin is? It's a classification of drug that controls cholesterol levels. Lipitor is the most popular one. It's actually the most popular drug. Most popular meaning more people take it in the United States than any other drug. So statin drugs is like a $33 billion a year industry. No, $133 billion a year industry. Yeah. So it's not going away anytime soon. There's a lot of money behind it. So, point here is sugar is at the root of all these things. Okay? And we know it's at the root of diabetes. Diabetes basically is the fact that you've got so much sugar in your body's now rotting. That's what it is. So the key notes from this is like, okay, reduce the amount of sugar in your diet. In fact, do everything you can to like remove all the sugar, all the extra sugar. Like when you drink drinks, like if you go get an iced tea over at Nature's, you're like, oh, iced tea, it's gotta be healthy, right? What's in most iced teas?
Sugar.
Yeah, sugar, like 30 grams a lot of times. That's like almost as much as a Coke, right? So remove all the sugar, right? And then if you want to confront the grains, start limiting them, right?
What about fruits?
That's a good question. So this is very interesting. Obviously, fruits have a tremendous number of nutrients that are good for the body. There's no doubt about that. The problem is that there's two problems. One is that modern fruits, like all plants, have been bred in certain ways, right? And they've been bred to increase the sugar content. So modern fruit contains a lot of sugar, okay? So, but there's health benefits to a lot of these fruits, right? To most of them, there's health benefits. There's like antioxidants, and there's the fiber, and there's all kinds of other vitamins and nutrients in these fruits. So the best thing to do, and the advice that I see from the people that are absolutely in the top of their field on this thing, is that you should eat the low glycemic fruit. A small amount, not a lot. Some people eat fruit all day, right? Because it's like healthy. It is definitely healthier than eating candy all day, but you're still getting all the sugar, right? So the low glycemic fruits are going to be mostly your berries. Your blueberries, your strawberries, your blackberries. Those are your low glycemic fruits. Yep. Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today, after beating you down a little bit about the sugar, and I want you guys to know this. Somebody who's improving their diet, this is what it looks like. I don't have anything to draw it on, but like you start wherever you start from, right? And then you go, okay, I've learned something about this. I'm going to be somewhat responsible. I'm going to make some decisions, and I'm going to control what I'm putting in my body, right? And so you go on this, and you do it for how long? Give me a guess. A month would be awesome. A week is probably very likely, right? And then you succumb to some temptation, or you're caught in the airport and you're like, dude, I'm starving, right? And then right? So improvement, and then crash, right? And then how do you feel? You feel crappy. You feel like, man, I didn't stick to it. I guess I can't do it. I can't do this. But the truth is that I've experienced this. I've been working on dietary stuff for over 10 years, and literally my diet, if I could graph what is the improvement in the food that I eat, it looks like this. So that now, even like for me now, a bad day is like, compared to where I was, is like, that would have been a dream 10 years ago, right? Now a bad day is like, ate too much fruit. I ate a sushi roll because we went to this restaurant I like, and they have sushi. I ate rice, right, with the gluten-free soy sauce, and I had them take off the Crispies because there's no gluten in it, right? Before it would have been like pizza, right, candy bar, Yeah. So that's what happens. So what I want you guys to know is that you should never get discouraged. As long as you're heading in the direction of like, okay, as soon as you go, whoa, I went off, I just went too crazy here. You just start right from that moment and you go, okay, I'm going to get back on this thing. Because what happens is a whole bunch of things. One is your palate changes. So you actually start to like a lot of the foods that before you're like, nah, right? And you'll actually not like a lot of the sweet foods when you start to cut that stuff out, right? So just remember that. You just keep improving. It's just continuous improvement, and you never are too hard on yourself if you sort of fall off the wagon a bit, because after many months and many years of doing this, you go, falling off the wagon now is nothing compared to what I used to eat every day, right? All right, so I wanted to talk to you guys today about energy. Who in here feels like at least once or twice a week you could use more energy? Me too. Yes. Now, a lot of that has to do with food. And I want you guys to know that the best place to get your nutrition is food. But there is a problem with our food supply today. Even if you eat a near perfect diet, right? The food of today is not the same as the food of 100 years ago. There's all kinds of problems. One is that food, if we look at wheat, in 1950, wheat was crossbred with, there's many different like strands of wheat, right? Like different kinds of wheat. We could list out a whole bunch of them. But wheat was genetically modified starting in the 50s to make it yield more and grow in a smaller space. All economically driven, right? Unfortunately, our food supply, economics is fine, but unfortunately the emphasis on our food supply, do you think it is on income or do you think it is on nutrition? Income. It is on income. And income is fine, but it's at the expense of, right? Their ethics went out on actually the product, right? So that would be like us selling the AMI product. It's fine that we want to make more income, but it would be like us going, you know what, let's actually deliver a lower quality product so we can make more income. Bad news, right? So that's what has happened in the food industry. And then you have a lot of well-intentioned people that are like, I can't compete unless I do this. And they go PTS to the suppressive people, right? Like they start to go the effect of the suppressive people. They wouldn't have done it left to their own devices, but like, I have no choice, I can't compete. No excuses, but that's how the whole industry has gone in that direction, right? So the problem is our food supply is in bad shape. The nutrient density, if you look at a tomato today compared to a tomato 50 or 100 years ago, the tomato today is full of water. 50 years ago, there was so much more nutrients, okay? So my point in bringing this up is you should try to get your nutrition from your diet. However, I think personally that it's actually impossible for you to get all your nutrition from your diet, and that's why dietary supplements have become more popular. And that's why, in my opinion, they are necessary for everybody if you want to function at a high level. Okay, so we're going to talk about energy, both physical and mental energy, and there are two supplements that are absolutely tops on the list if you're talking mental and physical energy. Number one is called coenzyme Q10. CoQ10, right? Okay, so yes, so I'm going to tell you about that. So CoQ10, here's what it does. So here's where it comes from. You can get CoQ10 in your diet, okay? Leafy green vegetables are a great source. Some fish are a good source, okay? But most of the CoQ10 is actually made in your body, in your liver. Okay, so you get some from your diet. If you eat well, you're getting some from your diet and your body makes some. Here is the bummer. Who in here is over the age 35? We got a couple lucky ones in there. Starting at about 35, I think it's like 37, it might be 37, I'm picturing the graph. The amount of CoQ10 that your body makes starts to decline. Sucks.
Why? Why does it do that?
I don't know. I don't know. Body's...
Blueprint? Time to go.
It's time, yeah, well, it goes, yeah, I guess we're on the way out. Yes. I don't know.
Lots of other
but
stuff.
CoQ10, yes, it's like, why don't we keep making stem cells like we did when we were babies? Yeah, darn it. Yeah. But CoQ10 starts a serious decline. So anybody who is over the age of 40, you have to be on a CoQ10 supplement. You'd be crazy not to, because here's what CoQ10 does, okay? It does many things, okay? But the most important thing it does is it actually repairs the DNA in your mitochondria. Wow. Yes. Now, your mitochondria,
thank you.
You're welcome. Those are little organelles, like an organ. They're just called organelles because they're small. They're little organelles inside of almost every cell in your body.
Wow.
We can say every cell. I mean, it's almost every cell has them. In fact, the cells that need to produce the most energy have the most mitochondria. Your heart is the most, your heart cells are the most dense when it comes to mitochondria because your heart never stops, right? Pumping all the time, right? So you need CoQ10 because those mitochondria actually have their own DNA. That is not your DNA. It is different. Like when you do a DNA test and they tell you what your DNA is, they're not telling you your mitochondrial DNA. It's called mDNA. It is different DNA.
Is it the same DNA in all the cells in your body, or is it different DNA in the mitochondria of different organs?
Same DNA. Yep. And that was actually, you know, there's a genetic line, right? You get your DNA, half from your mother, half from your father, and then your mitochondrial DNA also are passed that way, right? But it's different DNA. So that DNA, in order for it to repair, needs CoQ10. Okay? Now here's why that's important. There is a lot of research coming out now, last 5 years, this is really recent stuff, that points to the fact that the health of a person, the most important factor is the health of your DNA. I'm sorry, the health of your mitochondria. Remember, those are producing energy. And what is one of the first symptoms you have when you don't feel well? Tired and low energy. What is a symptom of almost every chronic disease? Fatigue and low energy. What is a symptom of getting older sometimes? Yes, and it is because our DNA are not mitochondria are not functioning properly. In fact, you can actually see this. A healthy mitochondria has a nice, smooth-looking cell wall. A mitochondria that is sick looks wrinkled. Yep, you can actually see this with an electron microscope. Mm-hmm. Wow. And so keeping your mitochondria healthy is unbelievably important. And there are two things that would destroy a mitochondria maybe faster than anything else. You know what they are? Sugar. Oh, okay. Yes. And lack of CoQ10.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. Yep. They need CoQ10, right? So here are some reasons, here are some ways you might know that you're deficient on CoQ10. You have low energy sometimes, right? You're over the age of 35 or 40. You have any kind of chronic disease. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Those are probably some of the biggest factors, right? So, and CoQ10 is one of the major anti-aging supplements, right? Because energy and health of your mitochondria equals living, basically. Yep. So you've got to be on CoQ10. Even if you're not over the age of 35, I can't imagine not being on it. You should be on about 100 to 200 milligrams a day. Oh, the other reason you know you're deficient is if you take a statin drug. Remember, statin drugs they decrease cholesterol? Okay? So what happens is there is a pathway in your liver that makes cholesterol. The statin drug blocks that pathway because you want to shut off the cholesterol. That's what they want. You shouldn't do it, but that's what they want. They shut off the cholesterol. But guess what runs on the same pathway? CoQ10 production. So if you take a statin drug, you are shutting off your CoQ10 production. That sucks. And that's why if you see people go on statin drugs, they look like they age much faster. It's one of the reasons. Wow. Yep. So if you are on a statin drug, you need to take CoQ10. In fact, I predict in 10 years, if you're on a statin drug and your doctor did not prescribe CoQ10 at the same time, I think you'll be able to sue him for malpractice because I think enough people will know that at that time. But why isn't this data out there?
Right.
Do you know that there's actually a patent application in right now for a statin drug with CoQ10?
That's great.
How about that? Yeah, so no wonder they're not telling everybody because they've got the patent in and they've got carving out their little space and they're going to make trillions. Okay, so you should definitely take CoQ10. You guys agree?
Yep. Yes.
Good. Okay, and CoQ10 is a major nutrient for energy. It's feeding your mitochondria, right? And we're going to win here at AMI, and you're going to win in life, and we're going to win across all of life, right? We need energy. Yes?
Absolutely.
When you're looking at different types of CoQ10 supplements, is there something in particular that you want to look for to know that it's going to be effective in the body?
Yes, it's a great question. Anybody know what time it is?
It's true.
It is 2. Okay, so I'm going to answer that as quickly as I can in the time I've got given. So you'd want to make sure that the supplement doesn't contain other artificial fillers. Like a lot of store-bought supplements are just, you're completely junk. In fact, if you type in to your Google search, FDA, let's see, if you do FDA, New York State Attorney General dietary supplements. That's all you have to type in. You will get a bunch of articles from 3 years ago where the New York State Attorney General got a complaint. They took several items off of the shelves of GNC, Walgreens, Walmart, Kmart, and they tested them. It is unbelievable what they found. And it has resulted in some regulations that are coming out very soon. What they found was that of 5 supplements that they tested, none of them complied to the label. Okay? None. 0. I believe the number was 3 of them had nothing that was on the label in the bottle.
Oh my God.
Yep. And they found some of them contained common houseplants, rice powder, soy.
Maltodextrin.
That's right. So if you look this up, you'll see. So that is one of the reasons why we sell our supplements, biogenetics, only to physicians, because we can't compete in that market. If you want to make a good quality supplement, you can't put your supplements on the shelf at Walgreens because they're selling house plants and rice powder for 98 cents. You can't make an actual supplement that matches the label and put it in there because the consumer doesn't know. Which one do they buy? The cheaper one, right? So in order for biogenetics to actually be able to create good supplements, we can't sell it in that market because no one will buy it. We have to sell it to physicians who will be interested in this because their reputation is based on them getting their patients well and will actually pay what we need to charge to be able to cover our cost to make them.
Does biogenetics make a CoQ10?
Yes, we do! And you guys are going to have access to it. Yes, yes, woo! We certainly do. So we're going to make this easy for you in terms of choosing a CoQ10 supplement because we have an awesome CoQ10 supplement. It doesn't have any junk in it. It's got, I think it's pretty sure it's 100 milligrams per serving. And you guys will have access to that super cheap. But let me tell you about the other side of the energy discussion that we're having here. So one is CoQ10. Now, CoQ10 is also not only for physical energy, but also mental energy. Your brain cells need the CoQ10. Something else your brain cells need. They're called neurons, right? They do. One other thing they need that a lot of people don't know much about is called phosphatidylserine. Yeah, so phosphatidylserine is a nutrient, right, that basically allows the neurons in your brain to function properly, allows the nerve impulses to travel from one cell to another efficiently. Studies have shown that phosphatidylserine can increase mental function in terms of short-term memory. That's how they measured it, by 20%. That's enormous. Like when you talk about a nutrient being taken and then being able to test the results, that is like off the charts. It is, if you're going to take one nutrient for overall brain function to be able to increase your body's ability to function mentally, it would be phosphatidylserine. Phosphatidylserine is in the phosphatidyl family. So these are fats, all healthy fats. All of your cells are made of fats. So you guys remember from science class the lipid bilayer? You remember it looked like a circle with 2 little squiggly tails, right? And you had a bunch of lipids facing that way and a bunch of lipids facing this way. That was outside the cell. This was inside the cell. You might remember that from science class, or maybe not. Okay, right. That's right. I wasn't paying attention during that. Yeah, no, I didn't study the lipid bilayer.
I think I need to remember that one.
That's right. Well, you've got a lipid bilayer on every single cell, and phosphatidylserine is actually in that. It's in every single cell wall that you have, but it's super dense in your brain. Okay, and this is one of the nutrients that actually allows for things to pass efficiently in and out of the cell. It's like your cell needs to function, right? It needs things to go in and out. It's like a living organism. And phosphatidylserine is one of the things that allows it to do that.